Hi there, as we are joining in. Welcome. I am Morgan Gist McDonald. I am an editor and writing coach and author, and I have my business at paperravenediting.com. And I work with a lot of authors, and I spend time on social media just chatting with people who maybe don't consider themselves an author just yet. They're kind of a writer. Hello, as we're joining. As y'all are popping in, let me know your name and where you're coming from and what you write. Do you write blogs? Do you write books? Do you write articles? Do you guest post a lot? Just let me know. Hello. From Mexico, cool. Jose. Nice. Hello, everyone, as you're joining. Today we're talking about being a pro writer. If you are familiar, hey, from Houston, Emily, I'm in Houston too. What part of Houston? We're talking about being a pro writer. I spend a lot of time talking with people who either there are writers, like published writers, or really a lot of times it's people who want to be a pro writer and they're not really sure. And most of the questions revolve around like logistics, like how do I get an agent? Do I traditionally publish or self-publish? You write with your left pinky toe. How can you be successful at life? That is the $100 million question, isn't it? Yeah, and so people want to know like logistics, like which, publishing houses should I pitch and all this, detailed kind of things. And usually I encourage people to kind of take a step back and realize that becoming a professional writer is first and foremost, thanks for the hearts. I appreciate that. Hearts are kind of like this interesting like Periscope thing where it's like you hope that if you're giving value that people will give you value by you just tap the screen and those little hearts pop up, and then I know that you like what we're talking about, and then I can craft more scopes around you guys. So if you if anything resonates with you, thanks guys, just throw some hearts on the screen and then I'll know what you guys like to hear. So becoming a professional writer. Hello. Yeah, as you're coming in, we'll do some Q&A at the end. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of a rundown, some things for you to think about. And then if you have other questions, we'll definitely hit those at the end. And heart attack. So let me know where you're coming in from, what your name is, and even like what you write, if you write blogs or books or whatever. Just to give you guys kind of like a recap, I'm Morgan Gist McDonald. You may not know who I am. I'm a writing coach and an editor and an author. And if you're doing a PhD, yay, I'm sorry. It's hard. Good for you, but also I'm sad for you. So if you like to talk about writing and inspiration and motivation and productivity, hit that little guy in the corner and follow me. I talk about writing every day on Scope. You suck at writing? That's not true. If you can communicate, you can write. Even if you speak audio, you have a Tumblr blog, nice. Even if you can just speak audio and have someone transcribe it or transcribe it later, that's a really great way actually to get comfortable with that whole writing process. Writing feels really intimidating, and I blame it entirely on the school system because you write this paper and then some teacher puts red ink all over it and tells you that you didn't put the comma in the right place and you didn't capitalize this correctly, and you lose all interest in writing. So I blame that on the school system. But most people are actually, if you can communicate, you can write. If you can talk to someone and have a conversation, you can write. Georgie, and a poet. Nice. I think poetry is highly underrated. We should all read more poetry. Anyway, sorry, I'm totally getting sidetracked. The point of this scope is to talk about how you turn pro as a writer, and most people really want to talk about logistics and how do I get an agent, how do I get in contact with a publisher, but really turning pro is first and foremost a mindset shift. It's how you think about yourself and your own writing, and that will really pave the way for a lot of progress in becoming a pro writer. And so if you have not read Steven Pressfield, basically everything that Steven Pressfield writes is amazing. Actually, I'll pull up his what's available on Amazon.com. But he wrote a book called Turning Pro, and it's amazing. Basically, Steven Pressfield is amazing. And he goes really into depth about the mindset shift that you have to go through in order to think of yourself as a professional. Let me flip this. So you can see right there, that's what the Amazon cover kind of looks like, Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. That's the inspiration book, actually, several times. But if you don't consider yourself a professional or worthy of writing, then you're not going to be able to make good progress in your writing. And so I want to kind of outline 5 ways that I think you can make mindset shifts and habit shifts in order to start to turn yourself into this pro writer. So when I think of a pro writer, number one, a pro writer always has at least one project, singular, one project that she's intentionally working on and making progress on. So it's not that you have like a scattering of like 12 different projects that you're kind of like working on bits and pieces, but that you focus on one project and you're like, this is the one that I'm going to write on now and I'm going to make it happen. Stephen Pressfield, Turning Pro. And so choosing one project to really focus on. It's so easy to get scattered and to chase like different ideas. Yes, thank you, Courtney, for typing that in. Yeah, Turning Pro. Chase different rabbit holes, different ideas, and not really make progress on any one of them. So a pro will just dive in, will just commit wholeheartedly to one project and making that one project happen no matter what. Thanks for the hearts, guys. Glad that's like resonating with you. Okay, number 2, a pro writer, in my mind, schedules writing time every week. Like this is it's a non-negotiable, guys. If you're gonna write like a pro, you gotta schedule that time in. It's just like anything else in life. If it's important, you're gonna schedule it in. And I really think 3 to 5 hours a week is kind of a bare minimum to make progress on like that one focused project. And it doesn't really matter. Like if it's 30-minute increments every single day, cool, that's great. If it's 5 hours on a Saturday, also cool. It does not matter. But what matters is that you're making progress and you're scheduling it and you're being really intentional about it. Number 3, making connections with other authors and editors and people in the publishing industry. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, if you are really nervous about your own writing, then you're probably going to hold yourself in isolation and not really want to talk about it. But if you want to turn pro, you kind of got to put yourself out there and start those conversations. Like reach out to another author who's in your field and just be like, hey, what's up? I really like what you write. That's it. Like it's super easy. Find them on Twitter, send them a tweet and just be like, you know what, you're really inspiring to me and I appreciate your work. And I work in the same field, so if we ever connect, that would be awesome. That's it. Like, it's super simple. Or like other like editors or people in the publishing industry who are out there like helping authors to put their work out. Honestly, I mean, I am a writing coach and editor, and I love talking with authors. Like, it's not a hassle at all. If someone tweets me, I'm like, this is awesome. I love helping authors get their work out there. And so when you contact other people in the publishing industry, you're not bothering them. That's what they do. It's what they love to do. They want to hear from authors. They want to hear from you. They want to hear from writers and help them, chase their dreams down. So find other authors, editors, people in the publishing industry, and just, send them an email, send them a tweet, like their Facebook thing. But actually, don't just like it. That's so passive. If we just like or we just retweet, that's passive. I want you to take it a pro, right? We'll take it one step further and make that connection. Send them a tweet, send them an email, send them a comment on Facebook. So that's where you're starting to turn pro, because you're elevating yourself and saying, I'm worthy of having a conversation with this person. And you already are, like, inherently. Like, there's no reason why you can't reach out to anyone and just try to start that conversation with them. And then the last, not the last one, I got 2 more. A 4th way that I think a pro writer shows up kind of in this writing business is that they seek out feedback, which is so scary, right? But they ask someone to read what they've written. So if we are not pro, we're not a professional, we tend to kind of want to keep our writing to ourselves because it's just not ready. But a pro will really put themselves out on the line and say, this is what I've written so far. I want your feedback. Give me what you got. Let me know where I can improve. Which, kind of a side note, corollary, like a pro is able to like distance herself from her work. And so when I give you a draft of a book that I've written, If you don't like it, I'm not going to take that personally. Like, you are critiquing the book itself, and I am not the book. Like, the book is a product of me, but when you're critiquing the book, you're just helping me make it better. So a pro has that sort of mindset around feedback and critique. And then the last one that I would talk about is that a pro writer is always thinking about the long game. So before you turn pro, all you can focus on is like, here's this one book, this one dissertation, whatever. And all you can think about is like reaching the end of this project. And that's it. There is nothing beyond that. But a pro is always thinking, how is finishing this project going to launch me into like something new, like a new phase of my career? So, you know, that could be other books. It could be blogs. It could be interviews. It could be, it could be nonprofit work. It could be a business. Who knows? But you're always thinking like, what could this book create in someone else's life or in my life? And how is it the foundation or the beginning of a new phase of life? So yeah, that's what I would kind of today challenge you to think about is if you want to turn pro, if you feel that like nagging curiosity about writing and you don't really know why, but you just like, you have to write something. Thank you. I'm so glad this is helpful. But yeah, how do you say Cynthia? I'm hoping is how you say your name. I'm really sorry. You can't really tell me how to say your name, but Cynthia is what it looks like. Courtney could be a hit book. Exactly. So yeah, you never know, Courtney, what doors the book is going to open. I mean, it could bring opportunities that you had never even imagined. In fact, I was just had a call with an author she's an academic, and she works with photography, and she's kind of branching into this new field of photography, and it's like very scary for her. And so she's putting out her first sort of seminal article, and it's been through a revise and resubmit, and we're submitting the revision now. And she's been just really nervous about like, is this gonna fly? Like, are people gonna like this? Like, worried about the pushback on this new article. And then, but we've sort of been talking through like, you just have to believe and have faith that this article or this book or this project is not the end game, right? There's a longer game here. It's going to make way for something bigger. And just last week, she got contacted by this new conference that has popped up around her area, and they've asked her to present at it. And it's like, she never could have predicted that would happen, and it never would have happened for her had she not put this writing project out into the world. So you never know. Like, it's not always about like becoming an Amazon #1 bestseller or whatever. Sometimes opportunities pop up for you that you won't know until you put it out there. And that's what a pro does. A pro really like puts themselves and their writing kind of out there. So I would kind of challenge you to think about, if you want to turn pro, like what steps do you need to take today to move you closer to like feeling and being and acting like a pro? Like, do you need to pick one project that you're really going to focus on instead of 12? Do you need to schedule some writing time? You know, don't wait for the inspiration. Like, do you need to pull out your calendar and schedule that time? Do you need to make a connection, you know, with another author or editor or someone in the industry? Like, send them a tweet, send them an email. Like, that could be your thing for today, is I'm going to send someone an email. And like, that is moving you one step closer to being a pro. Do you need to ask someone to read your draft? If you have something that you've already had 12 projects, I know, but we all do. Even I have 12 projects, and I'm like, I need to focus on one. Ask someone to read your project. Courtney, that's exactly the problem, is we don't have the time, and then we end up like whittling away our time on all these projects. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think 3 to 5 hours is a really good marker for scheduling in your writing time. Do you need to ask someone to read your draft? If you have written something and you've been like holding it, it's like in your top drawer or on your hard drive in this like super secret folder that no one ever opens, do you need to send that to someone and ask them to read it and give you some feedback? Because that's what a pro would do. And then the last thing, do you need to spend some time dreaming about what this one writing project could do for you? I mean, what's the long game? What could happen? Just dream about it. You don't have to like, you know, plan out the whole strategy. You just have to be open to cool stuff happening from it. Who's a good or bad person to ask for feedback? It kind of depends on where you are. I always ask for several people to read my stuff. And I always make sure that one of those people is really encouraging. I like to think of like my mom, who just loves everything that I write. Like, she's so supportive, so encouraging, like always finds the positive in everything that I write. She's like, this is really great, honey. So you need that person who is unconditionally supportive. But I also ask another person who sometimes is my husband, sometimes is another good friend of mine, who's a little bit more sort of critical, but not in like a mean way, but in a like, I want to help you make this project better. And so they will point out, this type of person will point out, yeah, I know, this type of person will, yeah, my mom is awesome. And my husband's awesome too, but he's a little bit more critical. Point out like really specific ways, like this really doesn't make sense. If you want this to like be successful, you should change how you talk about this. And so I think you need a balance. And if you can find someone who embodies both of those, that's great. Those are always my sort of, I think of them as like alpha readers, because they're the first people who really see my stuff before I'm quote unquote like ready to show other people. And then when I'm looking for more formal feedback, then I have like kind of a group of like 3 to 5 people who I think would just be interested in the topic, or, you know, would be kind of like the target reader anyway, and I kind of get their feedback too. So yeah, those are kind of my main points I really wanted to talk about today. Do y'all have any specific questions about just writing or revising or getting feedback? Thanks for the hearts, guys. That's so nice. I scope every day about writing. I am not totally set on like a schedule yet. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in, sometimes it's in the afternoon, occasionally it's in the evening. Yeah, Courtney, hit me with your questions if you have any. And I always try to kind of give you guys something to think about with how you can level up in your writing, whether it's mindset, whether it's like even software, or whether it's how to edit, like any of that kind of stuff. And then I'm always kind of available for questions too. In fact, I might eventually start doing scopes that are just question answer. We'll see. Oh, and I should tell you, I often take notes. I have scope notes. Let me show you how this works. So I don't have the scope notes posted for this one because it's live currently. But if you go to, let me turn you. Advisor said my writing is all over the place. The same argument bleeds across. Okay, I will get to that in 1 second. That is a really common problem. Okay, sorry. And this tripod's in the way. Okay. Repetitive as hell. Oh, I have a great solution for you, Courtney. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, if you go to paperravenediting.com, which is my website, /Periscope, you'll see this is where I keep my replays and stuff. And I post little scope notes, which will open up, which is an Evernote file where I just have notes from the scope. So you can always catch these later and the replays later too. So, sorry, I did not plan on this. There we go. paperravenediting.com /Periscope. We'll get you all those. For repetitive writing where the same argument kind of bleeds across all over the place. Sorry, I'm wrestling with the tripod here. Tripod's winning. Yeah, so what I always recommend, well, whatever, y'all can deal with me being crooked, I'm sorry. Maybe I should just hold it. What I usually recommend is doing, you're writing a dissertation though, right? So it's going to be long. This could be a long process, but it's totally worth it. Okay, it's called a reverse outline. And what you do is you bring up your writing as it is, the full draft, 200 pages of it, however long it is. And you have, if I'm assuming it's in like a Word document or something, you have that open on one side of the screen. And on the other side of the screen, you have a blank document that's going to become your reverse outline. So just to quickly define that, an outline, a regular outline, is when you make summary points of something that you're going to write. So a reverse outline is when you make summary points of something that's already written. So you have your one Word document with the dissertation and one Word document that's blank that will be the reverse outline. And you go through paragraph by paragraph on the dissertation. Take that first paragraph and you summarize it in one phrase or sentence, and you type that phrase or sentence into the blank reverse outline. and you take it every single paragraph. And I know it sounds tedious, and it kind of is, but it's really, really worthwhile. So then you have paragraph 2. The next bullet point over here, summary, phrase, or sentence. Paragraph number 3, summary, phrase, or sentence into a third bullet point. And so what you have is basically a list of all of your summary points. And then when you're looking at this list, this reverse outline, you can see exactly which paragraphs you're like repeating the same point. And then you can go back into the dissertation and be like, okay, so these paragraphs here are saying the same point. Let me look at each of those. Can I pull them together? Can I create a new section with just those arguments? And it helps you just look at the structure overall. So if you imagine looking at this reverse outline, and it's just a list of every summary point of every paragraph, you can see exactly what arguments you're making in the order that you're making them. Yeah, it's really bizarre to do at first, but once you have the reverse outline done, you're like, wow, I didn't even realize that's what I was saying in the dissertation, because when you're just reading the dissertation over and over again, you're too close to it. You get bogged down in the words and the sentences, and it's impossible. I mean, even for me as an editor, I do a reverse outline on everything that I edit, because when you're in the words, it's too hard to be reading the detailed words and remember the bigger picture. So the reverse outline pulls out just those summary points and lets you see that bigger picture. And then you can identify where you are repeating too much and go back to those. Yeah, when you're too close. You can go back to those paragraphs and say, okay, these are the problematic paragraphs. Because very likely so imagine the perspective from your advisor. Your advisor is reading along your dissertation, and there are going to be certain paragraphs that he or she hits, and as soon as they're reading that paragraph, they're like, oh, this is a repeat. But they're not marking which paragraphs those are. So the reverse outline helps you to identify where those points are in the manuscript where your advisor is saying, oh, I feel like I heard this before. You got to find those points, pinpoint them, and then you can go back and revise them. Pull them into a new section, or honestly, a lot of times you can just delete them. Like, it's really painful as the writer to start just deleting word count, but usually when I get a paper, let's say it's 50,000 words, I usually end up taking out 10 to 20% of the paper. So I have a 50,000 word paper. I'm going to usually take out 5 to 10,000 words. And that's like a lot of pages. If it's 250 words per page, oh gosh, I'm terrible at math. This is a bad idea. If it's 250 words per page, taking out 10,000 words is like taking out 40 pages. Thanks. But it's true, I do, because everyone repeats themselves. But you know what I would say is that repetition is not necessarily a bad thing for a first draft, because repetition lets you know, when you repeat the same point over and over again, that lets you know where your most profound argument is. If you find yourself wanting to repeat that point over and over again, that means it's something that you really want to drill into, dive deeply into, make a very specific point on it. And so that's a good thing. But then you have to go back and revise and take out all those repetitions and make sure that you are being really strategic with when you talk about it. You have 20,000 words per chapter. Per chapter? No. Courtney, you can't do that. You cannot do that. That's 80 pages for one chapter. Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. I agree with your advisor. You gotta trim that down. You gotta cut stuff out. You gotta summarize it. Because, yeah, that's the next thing. How can you repeat a point without belaboring your point? Don't repeat it. I mean, when you're talking about, so like, we're sort of getting into how do you create a theme. So if you have a particular point or theme that you want to come clear throughout this, I mean, if you have 20,000 words per chapter, you're talking like 400,000 words or something. If you want a theme to be present throughout all of that, you have to be really strategic about where you talk about it in each chapter. So like a chapter can almost be like a story, and then at the end of the chapter you can talk about how this smaller story chapter relates to the larger dissertation story. So maybe try to isolate the theme into like the beginning of the chapter or the end of the chapter, and just, yeah, you can't repeat it everywhere. It'll drive your reader crazy. Because you have to assume that your reader is smart. Assume that your reader is smart, and assume that your reader is paying attention. And so if you're talking to someone, you're not going to like say the same thing over and over and over again. My 3-year-old does that. It drives me crazy. Like, I heard you the first time. So give your reader the benefit of the doubt that they kind of know what you're talking about, that they can follow a theme, and that they can make some inferences as well. And you don't have to repeat it every single time. You can sum it up at the end of the chapter or at the end of a larger section. Let's say you're grouping 3 chapters together into one section. You can have like an ending at the end of that section, kind of talk about the points. Dude keeps saying, what's your analytical agenda? That's like, to me, it's a really weird way, a very academic way, of saying, when it does, dude says it's repetitive. I don't know. I wouldn't really be able to know without looking at, like, the writing itself. But it sounds like usually I would solve that by having a really clear introduction that sort of says, what's the point of this study? So I take it can't be at the intro and conclusion. I would actually put your quote-unquote analytical agenda, which is another way of saying, if you want to talk about working together, that's totally fine. You can send me an email, morgan@paperravenediting.com. My contact info is in my profile. But I would usually say, so write out a really clear introduction that is like, what is the point of this dissertation? What's the point of this study? And lay it all out there, and then only return to lay out the main themes that you're going to be studying, and then only return to those themes like at the ends of the chapters. Because you're going to assume that your reader's smart. And, plus you're writing a dissertation, so your committee knows like everything about your study anyway. So don't frustrate them by repeating the same points, if that makes sense. So it's really hard as the writer to like cut out all those words, but in the end you're going for a succinct, powerful piece of writing. And it can only be succinct. It can only be powerful if it's succinct. And it can only be succinct if you take out some words. So you gotta go do that. Sorry, there's not really a good way to shortcut that. All right, anybody else? Any questions? Any questions? Sorry, that was a long detour. But Courtney, I hope that was moderately helpful. Reverse outline will be your friend. It will also take you 8 hours, but it will be your friend because it will help you look at your dissertation in a new way. Anybody else? What do y'all write? There are lots of academics on Scope. I'm surprised. I didn't know academics scoped. Usually I work with like just general nonfiction kind of stuff. I guess I'm like half and half. Like half academics, half like entrepreneurs and nonfiction people and bloggers and accountants. I have some accountants. It's interesting. Anyway, okay. Y'all can, if you think of any questions, catch me on Scope tomorrow. Hit that little guy in the corner. Follow me. Catch me on Twitter. My handle is the same as the Periscope handle, @MorganGMac. And I am always up for talking about writing and techniques and strategies and motivation. So in the meantime, turn pro. Become a pro. Change your mindset. Just value yourself and your writing and know that it's a great contribution. Jump on my website. Thank you. Yep. Awesome. Well, Courtney will be glad to work with you. All right, guys, go do some writing, some pro kind of writing, and you'll be surprised at how just like changing your mindset around a little bit will really shift the way that you even write. It'll change the way you literally string your words together. So good luck, and we'll catch you guys on the next broadcast. Bye.